Most of the time here on Erudite Magic, we're going through a larger collection of magic, a big book, something new, but in today's episode, I want to take us in a different direction. This direction is an older one. This harkens back to a different era of magic, when it wasn't as easy to print books, so many creators released their products as pamphlets. I'm going to run you through some of my favorite pamphlets. And there's a pretty good mix here of mentalism, card magic, everyday magic, things that are out of print, things that are in print. And I hope that what you'll get out of this is a discovery of some new creators and potentially inspire you to go check out some of these smaller, less expensive magic packages that still hold a lot of value. The first one is one of the goats of pamphlet magic. It's The Bold and Subtle Miracles of Dr. Faust by David Hoy. I've discussed this pamphlet before. It is primarily mentalism focused, but this is an older style of mentalism that I believe has now widely been adopted by both magicians and mentalists. You could either dress it up to be more mind reading or dress it down to fit in more with some mental magic. It's very inexpensive, and if you only pick it up for 2 tricks, the Bold book test is one that can be done anywhere, anytime, with 2 books or 2 magazines, offers a lot of flexibility. You could predict the word, you can reveal the word, you can do anything you want with it. And the other one is the tossed out deck. You've probably seen versions, but in case you haven't, the book's price is worth that effect alone. Of course, there are many other items in here, like a blindfold routine and even a way to switch billets without ever touching the billet. It's put out by Magic Inc., one of the original mass producers of these pamphlets, and I hope you'll check it out. The next one I want to draw your attention to is 4F12 by Daryl. Why do I like this booklet? Because it has so much diversity in magic, and that's often what you can find when you buy one of these little booklets that was something like lecture notes. In this case, there's some really fun topological type routines. One is a rising card out of a deck that's put into an envelope. You rip the top off, stick a pencil through it, and as you rotate the deck on the pencil, a card rises. There's another trick with 2 jokers that are placed face to face. You do some cutting and twisting, and when you're done, the cards have gone through the 4th dimension, and one is now a double-backed card and one is a double-faced joker card. In addition, you'll find ideas with rope magic, dice magic, a small essay on magic theory, and of course some good card tricks. Most of you know that I already said the magic word, Daryl, so go check this one out if you haven't already. Speaking of magic legends who were taken from us far too early, Thom Peterson put out a couple of pamphlets back in the mid-2010s, and when he came and lectured at my local magic club, I had the great fortune of picking a couple of these up. There are a few things that make these pamphlets different than most of the other pamphlets in what I'm going to present, and just different in general than what you're going to find. One is that they're printed in full color. These are gorgeous and really fun to read. On top of that, the magic itself is from the repertoire of a working professional. So all of these routines have been used in real shows and in real situations. Finally, a recurring theme is just the variety of the magic in here. There are things with rubber duckies, cards, coins, liquids, bottles, ropes, and more. Although Thom has passed, he left us with a ton of great magic that can help his name live on forever when we perform these gems for appreciative audiences. One quick note here, I am occasionally sharing tricks that I like, but if you want to hear some of the tricks that I actually use from these pamphlets, then subscribe to my newsletter, the Erudite Magic Digest. I've dropped a link down in the description below. It's free, and I try to share something in my newsletter once a week that helps to expand on what we're discussing here on Sundays. So if you like this kind of content, but you want to go a little deeper, or you just want some of my inside tips, check that out. The next one on my list is High Spots by Caleb Wiles. Now, I know that this was reprinted in a hardcover book recently by Vanishing Ink, but one of the reasons that I'm including the pamphlet is because it illustrates that a lot of times these pamphlets are the precursor to something bigger for the creator. So it's a way to get in on the ground floor with someone who produces some great magic, support them, and encourage them to continue their pursuit of creativity and sharing it with other performers. High Spots was the first book that Vanishing Ink ever published, and yes, it is a pamphlet. Caleb has some really, really great card magic published in here. Most of it's not that hard to do, but it is really amazing stuff. If you've ever watched Caleb work, then you'll know that it's worthwhile to track some of this material down. Caleb fooled Penn and Teller on their hit show, and that same type of material is what you can find in this booklet. Speaking of creators who put out some material in a pamphlet that later became the basis for a book, the next one is Funny by Nick Diffatte. This one holds a special place in my heart for a couple of reasons. One, I like the tricks and I like the advice that he gives, particularly on the subject of harnessing your ideas and taking risks, which isn't actually the magic. But I like the fact that Nick took his own advice and ended up turning the ideas in here into a book, Offbeat, which he published with Squash Publishing. A couple of the tricks that I thought were some of the best tricks in that book actually saw print here in Funny first. The other reason that this booklet is important to me is it was one of the early reviews that I did here on Erudite Magic. It's a little bit precious and slightly embarrassing to go back and watch that review, but without it, we wouldn't have 5 years of history here on Erudite Magic. The booklet is pretty much out of circulation now, but if you can find a copy, there are some great tricks that I am going to share in my newsletter this week. One of the bigger booklets I'm going to talk about in this episode is Seemingly Impromptu by Michal Kaminskas. This booklet is over 90 pages, and as the title suggests, are tricks that actually have some preparation, but to your participants and audience, it feels like it's very organic and that there isn't any preparation necessary. So these tricks are great for those casual situations where many of us find ourselves performing. You're hanging out with friends or coworkers or family, and you just want to share a moment of magic, something that's completely impossible and will leave a lasting impression. He shares items from his repertoire with straws, Skittles, Sharpies, a floating cell phone, producing a bottle of your favorite beverage from some napkins, and even a bill to impossible location with a marked bill appearing inside a pen. Fun stuff and perfect for the casual or professional performer. Now, if you're listening to this episode and you're a little disheartened to know that many of these booklets are out of print, cheer up. The sponsor of this week's episode, Don's Magic and Books, is doing something he doesn't normally do. He's offering a big discount on all of the booklets on his website. He's offering 30% off if you use the code BOOKLET at checkout this weekend. So if you're shopping for some really great pamphlets or booklets like we're talking about here, the cool thing is that Don often has these older out-of-print magic sources, whether they're the smaller booklets or the more traditional hardback variety that we normally talk about. So no matter what you're shopping for this week, shop with Don's Magic and Books. I'm going to drop a link in the description below so that you can check out his extensive inventory on his website. As you may have seen from my recent newsletter, I had a flood in my basement, I lost some books, and of course, one of the first places that I turned to replace those books that just aren't available anymore was Don's Magic and Books. So not only do I shop with him, I know you're going to love shopping with him and will become a lifelong customer just like so many others before you. I don't know what you're waiting for. Head over to Don's Magic and Books and start shopping this week. Another booklet and idea that I want to highlight is Forethought by Greg Arce. Now, the reason this one has made my list is that as a performing mentalist, I think that this book has so many really cool ideas. But maybe more importantly, and for you to consider, is that Greg is not published in any major book that I'm aware of. So this pamphlet and some of the others that he produced is basically the only way to get some of his tremendously creative thinking. Just because someone isn't published in a book doesn't necessarily mean that their magic isn't any good. You'll often find that some of the best minds out there have contributed to periodicals, self-published some of these little pamphlets, or they've just contributed work to someone else's printed publication. But Greg has some really great thoughts and some fun tricks, so if you get the chance, check out some of his work. The other thing that a pamphlet or a booklet offers that a book often cannot is to go through one idea thoroughly. Marc Oberon's Way Out is a utility device. It allows you to have multiple outs from one single folded sheet of paper. When you open this piece of paper, you can display any outcome that you want up to 6. That's an incredible achievement for a piece of paper. And of course, you don't have to be a mentalist to use this, but it sure helps. The book thoroughly examines all of the different ways that he's gone through to give you multiple outs. They're not all 6 outs, some of them are fewer than that, but he also shares routines with you that take advantage of this type of utility. So whether or not you already have an idea in mind, this book can help spark your creativity and take you through what makes magic great in my mind, that you can take something simple like a sheet of paper and create a full-blown piece of amazement with just you, your audience, and this utility. More Plots and Methods by Michael Kociolek is a small paperback booklet filled with some really great card magic. In my mind, this particular pamphlet emphasizes the fact that smaller publications can still be completely robust and detailed. When you look at the tricks that Michael explores, these are classics. And obviously from the credits that he includes, well-researched and well-documented. There are several thought-of card routines in this, but don't think of this as a mentalist book. This is some great magic with cards and some mental-flavored pieces, if that's your cup cup of tea. Michael's one of those creators that's flown under the radar and I think deserves a lot more attention than what he gets. So check it out and you can be one of those people who says, hey, I knew him before he was famous. Finally, my favorite pamphlet of all time. I've talked about this one in multiple episodes before, so you might have already guessed it. The Perfected Center Tear and Other Assorted Routines by Richard Osterlind. I've said it before, I'll say it again. The Perfected Center Tear is the one that I use. It's a way to obtain a piece of information within the context of a mind-reading routine. All you need is a piece of paper and a pen with you. Many times the paper can be borrowed. I happen to carry one of his pads with me almost everywhere because it's such an organic prop to do some impromptu mind reading. But that's not all. He also teaches a lot of other really great routines in here. Some stuff with a nail writer, kicker to your book test idea, some ideas with a lighter including a switch, and of course the ashes on the arm, which is a great way to do a special reveal using your body, which is different than most magic routines. The thing that I want to emphasize with this one is the value that gets packed into this. And that's kind of the overall theme of this. These booklets and pamphlets, these smaller sources of magic, can all provide value based on the different criteria that I tried to emphasize with each one. Maybe it's an unknown creator. Maybe it's some really great routines that have never been published in a bigger book. Maybe it's the fact that the booklet itself is fairly inexpensive compared with buying a larger compendium. Whatever the reason, each one has a different reason, but they've all stood out to me and I thought I would share them with you. I want to hear from you though. What are some of your favorite smaller booklets or things that have flown under the radar? Drop it in the comments so that we can start a discussion about the value that exists in pamphlets. If pamphlets aren't your thing and you're more into books, then check out this video I did for you. As always, my friend, I appreciate you watching, and until next time, keep reading.